Hey, Pastor Nick here, and I want to tell you about something that I'm going to start doing from now on, at least for the rest of this sermon series that we're going through. What I want to do is to offer short kind of summaries or main point recaps of each of the sermons, so that in case you don't have the time to go back and listen to every sermon, or because you missed a certain week and you're running a little bit out of time and you want kind of a general recap before the next sermon so you're aware of where we are, that you can jump in and feel like you are still following the thread that we've been studying, we've been looking at. And so I think that's incredibly important because, we believe that the different books of the Bible, or the different compilations of books, are work together to tell a story. And so it's really important to stick with the story, right? In many ways, it's kind of like if you started joining our church a little bit late, or you missed several Sundays, it's kind of like skipping chapters in a book, or starting in the middle and then kind of being like, I'm not entirely sure where we are. With sermons, I reference back to a lot of what we've already talked about. And so I wanted to create this little kind of video series of summaries of the sermons, just so that we can kind of catch up. Or if you don't remember something, even if you were here, it's a lot of sermons, it's a lot of time, and you want to go back and you're like, what was he talking again about Hosea? That you could go back and revisit that in a short way. And so I want to kind of summarize what our sermon series is in this first video, what the main kind of overarching theme is, remind you why we're studying this. Because I think the reality is that a lot of people have never ever had their church go through the book of the Minor Prophets before, or the book of the 12, as we often reference them to, because we believe, I believe in my studies, that these books are actually working together, that they have been compiled in a strategic way to tell the story. And so the way that we're looking at the book of the 12, the Minor Prophets, is within the context of humans haven't changed, and that neither has God. And so where does this come from, this kind of big theme? It points to the reality that when humans are left to their own devices, that they don't make better decisions, right? When humans push God out of the picture, they make worse and worse and worse decisions that have huge ramifications on society. And so when we are looking at human beings throughout the whole Old Testament, when we're looking at these people, these figures, we recognize that this nation of Israel that has been set up for this specific purpose by God, because they move away from God and they continue to replace God with other idols and other desires, that we see that this nation inevitably just evolves into this nation where there's rampant injustice, where there's slavery, where there's poverty, and so this is a thing that God comes in. He's going to judge, and he's very upset with Israel about. But we also have the other side of that, right? Humans haven't changed since the beginning of time. Us as humans is relative, because we still make the same mistakes, right? We still have the same struggle as human beings. And so I think it's very easy for us to relate to the people that are being talked about in the Minor Prophets, in the book of the 12. And so it's relevant to us, but also we recognize that God hasn't changed either. And that what we see is all throughout the Old Testament is that God is faithful to his people, even when they struggle to be faithful to God. The establishment of the Old Covenant, the intention is that God is going to uphold his end of the bargain, and that humans are going to uphold their end. Well, we find out very quickly that humans are incapable of holding up their end of the bargain when it comes to a relationship with God. And so we're going to see the picture that God paints and the way that God continues to work through his unchanging nature. And a big reason I wanted to look at these books through this lens too is because I want us to realize that the God of the Old Testament is the God of the New Testament. Those two are one in the same. And any biblical scholar and any of the people who contributed to the writings of the Bible, the New Testament writers, they they believed this, that the God of the Old Testament wasn't different from what they were encountering or what they had experienced. And they relied heavily on the Old Testament for understanding how they should write the letters to the churches. Or they were greatly informative to Paul and to the different disciples who wrote gospel stories about Jesus. The Old Testament is always been a part of that. And the book of the 12 is a big and an important part of that storytelling, as it's sandwiched there in the middle. In many ways, the minor prophets, the book of the 12, the reason they're in the middle of the Bible is because they help bring the Old Testament and the New Testament together in a way that's really beautiful, and that's why we wanted to study it. And so that's kind of our theme as we study the book of the 12, is that humans haven't changed and that neither has God. And we're going to see that when we start here in the book of Hosea, that we're going to get a very fast introduction into how things are going to be, a very visceral picture. And the imagery that we're going to encounter is vivid, and it's going to really jump out at us. So I'm excited for you to kind of go into this and to continue to study with us. Hopefully this helps you track with what I've been preaching on and what we've been studying on together as a church, and that this could be really informative and transformative for you. So that's my hope, and yeah, hope this really benefits you.